The San Francisco 49ers report is sponsored today by Mint Mobile, the cell phone company owned by the famous actor Ryan Reynolds that's changing the game right now with cell phone plans for as little as $15 per month. During this period of inflation, everybody is trying to save money, including me. That's why I made the switch. You can start saving money today by heading to mintmobile.com/chatsports. Mint Mobile, living on America's largest 5G network. We'll tell you more about them coming up around the corner. So this is our second show of the day. Earlier today, we did a 49ers training camp preview. Be sure to watch that after this show if you haven't already done so, because we were able to talk about a lot, latest rumors on Trey Lance, but the 49ers have officially checked in and reported to training camp. So there are so many news items to get to, from Trey Lance being told that he's the guy, Jimmy Garoppolo being told that he is not. A Deebo Samuel contract looks as though it's going to get completed soon. Nick Bosa might not get paid until next year. We're going to relay all of that. This is why you subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate all of your support, of the 49ers report. So we begin with the players on PUP. So it's going to be Charlie Warner because of a core injury. Jason Verrett coming off that torn ACL that he suffered in week 1 against the Lions last year. And then Kalia Davis, the late round pick out of UCF as the defensive tackle. He suffered a torn ACL in the fall of 2021. He too placed on the PUP list. What's significant here is that it looks as though Jimmy Garoppolo will not be put on the physically unable to perform list. Speaking of Garoppolo, he was told today in a meeting with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan that this is Trey Lance's team and that they're moving forward with the number 3 pick from the 2021 NFL Draft. Basically what I want to do on today's show, we're going to freestyle and just spit on all of these tweets and reports coming out from the practice facility in Santa Clara as John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan just got done addressing the media, and we're reacting to this in real time. Pelissero did tweet this just moments ago. Kyle Shanahan says John Lynch, Jimmy Garoppolo spoke this morning, and everyone is on the same page that we have moved on to Trey Lance. There were some questions about whether or not Garoppolo was going to report. He is expected to take his physical this afternoon, which is really big. If that checks out with that shoulder surgery that he underwent right after the regular season concluded, then that will further the development of a potential Jimmy Garoppolo trade. This coming from Matt Mayoko, that Garoppolo did indeed report to training camp, scheduled for a physical this afternoon. The expectation is that he will not be placed on PUP. He's here. He's reported. We'll see what happens with the physical, and we'll move on from there. That coming from John Lynch. There's also this, and this is really good news for Trey Lance. He doesn't have to worry about Garoppolo breathing down his neck and forcing upon a quarterback controversy or a quarterback competition. Why is that? Because it is expected right now that Garoppolo is not going to ever practice with the team, and that opens up an opportunity for him to then get traded. Kyle Shanahan said in that presser, does not plan on Garoppolo ever practicing again with the team. He said the team has moved on to Trey Lance. He said the team wants to do what's best for both sides, and Shanahan did address the team as a whole and said that Trey Lance is going to be the starting quarterback. On the show earlier today, we talked about that most recent report from Mike Silver on the Colin Cowherd podcast as he doubled down on his original reporting from last week or the week before that Trey Lance suffers from arm fatigue and this coaching staff and the organization has serious concerns about him as a quarterback prospect and the arm. Kyle Shanahan was asked on the Tim Kawakami podcast about that and did mention it. Then he, of course, was asked about it by the media. And on the subject of arm fatigue, 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan said it happened one time last summer when Lance did not practice due to a sore arm. He said that's not any different than any other quarterback that he's ever coached. And for Lance to suffer from arm soreness, if there was a change in his mechanics, not surprising at all. You go from one arm slot to another, you're using a different grouping of muscles in that arm. And if there's a lot of repetition, if there's high volume, high velocity with the arm motion, then quarterbacks are going to suffer from arm injuries. Do just want to talk about Lance here for just a moment. The fact that Lance doesn't have to worry about Garoppolo in the building, who's well-liked, well-respected by the coaching staff as well as this organization, and he doesn't have to worry about Garoppolo being on this practice field, will do wonders for his development. Human nature comes into play, right? And if Lance is under center, worrying about him messing up throughout these practices because he knows that Garoppolo is breathing down his neck, that can alter his confidence. That can impact his mental processing. And for Lance, he needs to be able to go out to the practice field knowing that he's QB1, that this is his team, that they drafted him at number 3 overall for him to be the franchise quarterback, and the organization has to instill confidence in Lance that they believe that he is the guy to lead them to the promised land going into a critical year 2. And on top of that, Lance is really raw. He needs to fine-tune his mechanics. He needs to work on some of his flaws and weaknesses because he's an inexperienced football player. He's 22 years old. He was drafted when he was 20. Back in 2021, he only played 1 game in that COVID-shortened season at North Dakota State. When he was playing for the Bison, it was a run-heavy team that had a really good complementary cast, so Lance was not asked to throw the football 30 to 40 times. He only played 1 full season of FCS football and only started 2 games last year as a rookie and certainly had his ups and downs. He needs to iron out some of the inexperiences that he has as a professional football player and learn the ropes of what it's like to be a starting quarterback and go through the rigors of being an NFL player and learn along the way. There are going to be bumps in the road for Trey Lance. There's no doubt about that. And when he does struggle at times, don't overreact. It's important to note that he's still a young guy. This is a really good team that surrounds Trey Lance. They can still be very, very successful. And I thought what Shanahan said on the Tim Kawakami podcast back the other day about Lance in 2022 being very similar to Garoppolo in 2019 is pretty interesting. Because Garoppolo back in 2019, Niners got off to a roaring start. How did they do it, though? What was the identity of that football team? Run, physical downhill approach, and the defense led by defensive coordinator Robert Saleh was great, and Jimmy Garoppolo didn't have to do all that much to lead the Niners to wins. But then once he started to find a groove, once he discovered his footing, middle portion of the year to the end of the year, he really started to become a more lethal passer. And I think that's really important for Lance and this coaching staff to take a very similar approach to not damage his confidence early and not to put too much on his plate, knowing that the team constructed around Lance this year is a very good one, and they don't need Lance to overdo it or do too much. As I mentioned off the top of the show, 49ers Report, sponsored by Mint Mobile, the best cell phone plan that's available on the market today, with these plans starting as low as $15 per month. How do you start saving money? Well, you see the link at the bottom of your screen. There it is, mintmobile.com/chatsports. It's living on America's largest 5G network with unlimited talk and text, so you'll be able to make calls to your family, text as many people as you want, and save money during a period of inflation. mintmobile.com/chatsports. I'll put that link in the comment section and the description of that video. We can get to the weigh-in here in just a little while, Seeps, but let's continue to get you updated on all of the happenings coming from Santa Clara. Most notably, and this is probably the biggest story coming out of the practice facility today as the 49ers reported at training camp, is the fact that Deebo Samuel did report to camp, and John Lynch had said that he expects a deal to get done very soon, and that his camp, and the 49ers are on the same page. Matt Mayoko with this once more, that Samuel has reported to the team. John Lynch said the club is focused on getting something done. We'll get to his exact quote coming up around the corner. He said that both sides have had a number of productive talks, which is significant because back even several weeks ago, it seemed as though Deebo's camp and San Francisco, they were far apart on these negotiations, but that gap has shortened a little bit. Kyle Shanahan also asked about 1-9, one of the most impactful offensive players in the league, and said that Deebo, on the subject of how he'll be deployed this season, we're on the same page with it. So if Deebo went to the organization in the front office and said, I don't really want to be used that much as a running back because I want to save my body, Kyle Shanahan, he's on the same page with it. As for what John Lynch said about that Deebo contract, I don't want to get everyone all excited that something is imminent because we're not there yet, but really hopeful that in the near future we'll be able to announce something that's really exciting for everyone involved. Deebo is here today, and we're excited about moving forward with him as a part of this team. So speaking of that Deebo deal, we've showed you the graphic plenty of times. So the top 5 highest paid wide receivers in the NFL, ranging between about $20 million and $30 million. Tyreek Hill at the upper threshold of that. How much would you pay Deebo Samuel on an average annual value basis? Let me know right now in the comment section. I thought this was pretty interesting because Deebo is expected to get paid soon. Nick Bosa, maybe not for another calendar year. John Lynch saying that negotiations will most likely take place next year for the Bear, coming off that 15.5 sack season. What the difference is between Bosa and Deebo, even though they're both members of the same draft class, is that because Bosa was selected in the first round, they exercised his fifth-year option. They had the option to do that. For Deebo, he's entering the final year of his rookie contract without that option because he's a second-round pick. So already the base salary for Bosa guaranteed in 2023 at just shy of $18 million. More injury news to get you caught up on. Mike McGlinchey, Javon Kinlaw, Azeez Al-Shire, all in the same situation here, all coming off significant injuries. They have been cleared, but the team will bring them along slowly during camp. And then lastly, a roster addition that we want to get to. We talked about this last week about San Francisco signing defensive tackle Robert Nkemdiche, the former first-round pick for the Arizona Cardinals out of Ole Miss. He is officially signed today because John Lynch said that he shined, a little play on words there, in a recent workout. He fits the 49ers mold of a big, quick interior defensive lineman. He's now on his fourth team because he has failed to live up to the hype of being that first-round pick. But we know San Francisco puts an emphasis on building along the defensive line. They develop defensive linemen as good as any organization in the NFL. Could they turn around the career for Nkemdiche, get him for a really cheap price, and get some pretty good value back? We'll see what he's able to do, and then another first-round pick in Javon Kinlaw. Just because I want to hear from the real ones in the comment section before I hop on out of here and take off this headset, I want you to type FC in the comment section just because the Seahawks suck. As always, thank you so much for tuning into the 49ers Report. Make sure you subscribe. And our coverage, now that training camp is here, it's about to get ramped up. It's about to get real. You don't want to miss any of it.